$6 tickets. That's what the WNBA Finals were going for just hours before tip-off, and the arena still didn't fill. It was a brutal look for the league, one that screamed failure louder than any scoreboard. Caitlin Clark wasn't there, and her absence told you everything you need to know about the WNBA's current reality. No Clark, no crowd. The drop-off was instant. Just weeks before, Clark had pulled in over 1.8 million viewers for her playoff debut.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
She was the headline, the moment, the magnet pulling casual fans into WNBA territory for the first time. Now, without her, the league's most important games looked and felt like an afterthought. Ratings plummeted nearly 50%, and the conversation shifted from who's going to win to why is nobody watching. Aya Wilson could feel it too. Her Las Vegas Aces showed up to defend their title, but the energy in the building wasn't playoff level. It was uncomfortable silence. Wilson, the reigning MVP, didn't hide it. Her body language said what her quotes couldn't. Where is everybody? Why are we here if no one else is? Then came Dawana Bonner, the veteran who's been through every era of the WNBA, suddenly sounding exhausted in front of reporters. There was disappointment in her voice, a frustration that the league couldn't hold on to the momentum that Clark had handed them on a silver platter. It's not about wanting Clark in the finals. It's about knowing that the second she left the playoffs, the entire league flatlined. And the league's leadership? Commissioner Kathy Engelbert tried to pretend the storm wasn't happening. Her refusal to mention Clark's name or admit the obvious turned a frustrating moment into a full-blown PR crisis. Instead of accountability, fans got deflection. Instead of strategy, they got spin. Social media exploded. The memes, the mocking, the disappointment. It was all out in the open. This wasn't just a bad week. It was an expose. A crash course in what happens when an entire league gets built on one breakout star and doesn't have a backup plan. The Aces and Liberty gave it their all. But they weren't just fighting each other. They were battling a system that stopped listening the second Clark was eliminated. The WNBA Finals were supposed to be the climax of the league's most talked-about season in years. After a year packed with headlines, rivalries, media buzz, and the explosion of a rookie superstar, this moment should have been electric. It should have been a celebration. But instead, what fans got were nearly empty arenas, a flat atmosphere, and tickets being resold for as little as $6. And yes, $6. Not for preseason, not for a back-to-back in June, but for the finals. The culmination of the league's entire year. And despite the talent on the floor, despite the stakes, despite the championship on the line, the seats stayed cold. Literally. So what went wrong? Let's not dance around it. The glaring absence of Caitlin Clark, the rookie who changed the game's visibility almost overnight, is the fault line this entire disaster is sitting on. When she was in the playoffs, the league hit a record-breaking 1.8 million viewers for her first game. That's not hype. That's data. Her presence drew people in. Fans, first-timers, critics, curious viewers. And the second she was out, all that interest walked out with her. The finals were left to pick up the pieces. But those pieces were sharp. Empty arenas, drastically slashed ticket prices, ratings dropping almost 50% from previous highs. Social media mocking the league's biggest games with meme after meme. The optics were brutal, and the spin? Even worse. Because instead of addressing the elephant in the room, the league's leadership brushed it off. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert dodged any real acknowledgement of Clark's impact, let alone her absence. The tone was defensive, dismissive, almost as if admitting the obvious would mean surrendering control. But the refusal to speak directly to what fans were clearly noticing only widened the gap between the league and its audience. Players noticed it too. Aya Wilson, one of the league's most dominant and visible stars, didn't just take it in stride. She spoke out, and she wasn't the only one. Dawana Bonner echoed the same sentiment. These players weren't just frustrated, they were betrayed, because they played their hearts out, carried the league through the ups and downs, only to feel like their biggest moment was met with silence and scattered applause. It wasn't just disappointment, it was disillusionment. This was supposed to be their time, the platform, the payoff. And instead, they had to watch their finals be overshadowed by the ghost of a missing rookie. Not because Clark took something away, but because the league never bothered to build a foundation beyond her. That's the heart of the crisis. The league didn't just rely on Clark, they depended on her. All the promotional energy, all the media spotlight, all the hype, it flowed through one player. And when that player didn't make it to the finals, the league was exposed. It wasn't just a ratings issue. It was a structural issue. There was no backup plan, no storytelling around the other stars, no dynamic marketing push to elevate the finals on their own merit, no strong narrative arc to make people care. What was left behind was a finals that felt more like a formality than a finale. And the fans saw it. You could feel it on social media. People questioning why the arenas looked half empty, why the league wasn't capitalizing on this moment, why they weren't giving players like Wilson and Bonner the platform they deserved. The memes, the mockery, the dragging, it was relentless and deserved, because when fans sense inauthenticity, they bail. And the league's attempts at damage control? Superficial. A few last-minute marketing tweets. A couple of promo spots. Nothing that could even begin to patch the canyon-size gap between what fans expected and what they got. The truth is, this finals failure wasn't just about Clark being gone. It was about what her absence revealed. A league that never developed a plan B. A league that let ego override strategy. That confused one-time attention with long-term growth. That believed PR soundbites would be enough to keep the momentum going. Spoiler, they weren't. And now, the fallout isn't just emotional, it's financial. Plummeting ticket sales, sponsors reevaluating, broadcasters quietly reviewing the next season's value. If a championship game can't sell out, if it can't draw meaningful national numbers, what does that say about the product's current trajectory? It says that the league is in crisis. Not because women's basketball isn't marketable, not because the players aren't phenomenal, but because the leadership failed to adapt, failed to plan, and failed to listen. Caitlin Clark shouldn't be a scapegoat. She's a catalyst. And instead of letting her elevate the league, leadership tried to contain her, to downplay her cultural impact, to fit her into a pre-existing narrative instead of using her momentum to expand the story. That mistake is now written all over this postseason, and the players are left picking up the emotional bill. Aya Wilson didn't sign up to be overlooked in her own finals. Bonner didn't give her entire career to play in front of empty seats. These are players who've given everything to the league, and what they got was silence from the top when things got uncomfortable. It's no surprise then that fans are calling for heads to roll. Commissioner Engelbert is facing increasing criticism, with some demanding her resignation. Not because of one bad finals, but because of a consistent pattern of detachment and deflection. You can't grow a league while pretending the problem is bad luck. There's no more room for spin. The WNBA has a choice. Keep pretending everything is fine, or confront the very real issues that this finals exposed. From marketing failures to tone-deaf leadership to an unwillingness to embrace change. The list is long, but fixable. That's the thing. This doesn't have to be the end of the story. It can be the turning point. But only if the league humbles itself, listens to its players, and actually builds a future where multiple stars are developed, respected, and marketed accordingly. You can't grow anything sustainable on a single route. And right now, the WNBA's entire growth is leaning on one. Clark brought the audience, but it's up to the league to keep them, to tell better stories, to spotlight Wilson, Bonner, Stewart, Thomas, and the dozens of other elite athletes giving this league everything they've got. But they can't do it alone. Fans want authenticity. They want energy. They want finals that feel like events, not afterthoughts. And they're not going to keep watching if the product doesn't match the promise. So now the league stands at crossroads. It can keep spinning the numbers, or it can rebuild trust. It can keep minimizing its stars, or it can finally give them the spotlight they've earned. The choice should be obvious. But is leadership ready to make it? Let us know in the comments. Was this finals disaster a wake-up call, or just another chapter in the league's ongoing struggle to evolve? Should the leadership take the fall, or is this a growing pain that fans and players need to power through together? Tap that subscribe button for more breakdowns of pop culture chaos, celebrity flops, and sports scandals that leave us collectively speechless. Because whether it's $6 tickets or six-figure meltdowns, this drama never takes the off-season. Let's not sugarcoat it. This finals flop wasn't just a one-off embarrassment. It was a full-on exposure. Like the lights came on at closing time, and suddenly everyone could see the cracks in the walls, the peeling paint, the foundation that wasn't as solid as we thought. And now the question hanging in the air isn't what happened. It's, how did it get this bad without anyone stopping it? The numbers didn't lie. Attendance cratered. Ratings nosedived. The league's biggest moment of the year, the one they were supposed to build the season toward, looked more like a ghost town than a grand finale. And yet, the leadership's response felt like they were reading off cue cards from a 2019 media kit. Growth, momentum, historic visibility. Okay, but where were the fans? Where were the sold-out arenas? The camera flashes? The electric energy that comes with a finals game? Because what viewers got instead was deafening silence, empty seats, and an awkward awareness that something was missing. And it wasn't just Caitlin Clark. It was any real effort to elevate this moment in her absence. This wasn't a case of people just didn't care. That's the laziest excuse in the book. People do care. They care about women's sports. They care about good basketball. They care when the product is treated like it's worth watching. But the second fans sense that even the league isn't sure how to sell its own finals, they tune out. And that's exactly what happened. Let's rewind to earlier this season. Clark entered the league, and like a lightning bolt, she changed everything. Suddenly, WNBA clips were going viral. Highlights were making the rounds on ESPN. Merch was flying. Casual viewers were locking in. All the metrics went up. And you'd think the league would have seen the opportunity there. Not just to ride the wave, but to build a stronger ship while the tide was high. Develop more stars. Push other storylines. Give fans more reasons to stay after the Clark effect cooled off. But instead, the league acted like it was fine coasting on that one gust of wind. And now they're stuck. Because when Clark got eliminated, there was no cushion, no backup plan, no multiplayer marketing push. Just a final slap together like an afterthought, as if fans wouldn't notice or care that the magic was gone. But they didn't notice, and the players noticed too. That's why you had Wilson and Bonner speaking out. Not just venting, but issuing a reality check. These are players who've seen the league at its lowest, fought through it, believed in it. And now, they're watching the league hit a self-inflicted wall just when it should be taking flight. Wilson didn't just call out the empty seats for the sake of drama. She called them out because she knew what they represented, a system that failed to back up its own stars. A system that fumbled the handoff when it had a real shot at national relevance. And she wasn't going to pretend otherwise. The contrast is painful. Clark's first playoff game, packed arenas, millions of viewers, people actually arguing about women's basketball at the dinner table. The finals? Cut to a wide shot and nothing. No buzz, no build-up, no reason to watch if you weren't already deeply invested. That's the cost of a league that treats hype as a strategy instead of a spark. Because hype fades, strategy lasts. And the WNBA, in this moment, clearly had none. What's worse is that fans wanted to be engaged. They were ready to rally behind these finals. But when the league couldn't even be bothered to put together a compelling marketing campaign or create star-driven narratives leading into the finals, it sent a message. We don't know how to do this without our golden rookie. And again, let's be clear, this isn't a knock on Caitlin Clark. She delivered. She showed up. She brought in more eyes than the league has ever seen. She's not the problem. The problem is that the league didn't use that visibility to lift everyone else with her. You can't claim growth if it only exists when one player is in the building. That's not a league. It's a fan club. The solution isn't to resent Clark's popularity. It's to replicate it. Build it. Invest in more players. Put real money into player branding. Put real effort into storytelling. Stop hoping people show up and start giving them a reason to. Because right now, players are giving the performance of a lifetime, and the league is giving them cardboard confetti in a tweet. And that's not sustainable. Look at the mood on social media. It's not just trolls or bored fans making jokes. It's loyal viewers asking what happened. It's people who bought in only to feel let down by the way the league handled its biggest moment. When players speak out and fans echo their disappointment, that's not noise. That's an alarm. And then there's the sponsorship problem. You think brands want to be associated with a finals where half the arena is empty and the discourse is what happened to the energy. Sponsorship is about trust, about value. And when the finals can't deliver the most basic metric, but's in seats, the alarm bells start ringing in boardrooms, too. No one is saying this is the end, but it is a warning. If the WNBA continues to rely on one player, continues to brush off fan criticism, and continues to undercut its own stars with tone-deaf leadership, it's going to burn out everything it just worked so hard to build. This isn't just about PR, it's about identity. What kind of league does the WNBA want to be? One that uplifts its entire roster, builds meaningful rivalries, creates consistent excitement? Or one that only knows how to operate under a media frenzy and folds the second it's over? The players have done their part. They've given us talent, heart, vulnerability, and leadership. They've brought the product. Now it's time for the league to meet them halfway. And that starts with some humility. Admit the finals were a flop. Admit the marketing strategy was flawed. Admit that the Clark effect wasn't handled properly. That doesn't mean defeat, it means growth. Real growth. The kind that doesn't require another PR campaign to explain. It means giving players like Io Wilson the visibility they deserve. Giving finals contenders the build-up they need. Giving fans the kind of experience that makes them want to come back regardless of who's on the court. Because the truth is, the final should never feel like a downgrade from the first round. But that's what this year gave us. And it can't happen again. The league owes it to the players, to the fans, to the sponsors, and to itself to get this right. That means fixing the leadership gap, fixing the storytelling gap, fixing the respect gap, and above all, listening. Listening when the players speak. Listening when the fans show up. Listening when the receipts are this public. Because when a finals tips off and no one's watching, it's not a Caitlin Clark problem. It's a leadership failure. And unless the WNBA is ready to confront that, the next historic season will be remembered for all the wrong reasons. Here's the part that's hardest to swallow. This didn't have to happen. The WNBA wasn't blindsided by some unforeseeable tragedy. It didn't stumble into this finals disaster by accident. The writing was on the wall months ago. When Caitlin Clark entered the league, the landscape changed overnight. The media ecosystem shifted. Ticket demand spiked. Conversations around women's basketball started happening in places they never had before. On cable news, in sports bars, on Reddit threads, full of people who, let's be honest, had probably never watched a WNBA game in their life. It was undeniable. She brought the eyes. But what did the league do with them? It acted like it didn't know what to do at all. Instead of meeting the moment with energy and forward-thinking strategy, it got stuck in defense mode. Like the sudden attention was a threat instead of a gift. As if the influx of new viewers had to earn their way into the community, instead of being welcomed with open arms and 30-second highlight reels of Io Wilson making defenders disappear. And now, with the finals reduced to a half-empty sideshow, the backlash is coming from every direction. Fans feel let down. The casuals who showed up for Clark bounced the second the energy dropped. Diehards feel betrayed because their faves are still being overlooked. And the players? They're trying to keep the league's credibility from slipping through their fingers, even while they're being asked to act like everything's fine. It's not fine. When ticket prices for a finals game are the same as a fast food combo meal, something has gone terribly wrong. When your MVP candidate has to spend her post-game media sessions subtly dragging the league for the lack of hype, that's not growing pains. That's institutional negligence. Let's talk about that leadership disconnect. Because while the players are being open and honest, the league office is still clinging to talking points about increased interest and positive trends. Those things might be true, but they ring hollow when you're watching a finals game that feels like it was thrown together last minute. You cannot expect players to keep performing like pros while the league promotes them like amateurs. Io Wilson's frustration wasn't about ego. It was about effort. She and her teammates deserve better. They are in the spotlight. They fought their way to the top. And instead of being greeted by packed arenas and primetime treatment, they got a broadcast with low energy, low stakes, and zero vibe. Dewana Bonner said it outright. The finals felt empty. And that emptiness wasn't just physical, it was symbolic. It was the result of a league failing to recognize that momentum isn't permanent. It needs fuel, investment, attention, and most of all, leadership. Because when the league's most marketable stars are sidelined, that's when the real marketing begins. That's when you lean into the final storyline, create compelling rivalries, spotlight legends, and sell the game itself. But the WNBA didn't do that. It relied on inertia, and inertia doesn't fill seats. So where does the league go from here? Honestly, it has two paths. Path 1. Keep pretending this finals wasn't a disaster. Keep feeding press releases to sponsors and hoping no one looks too closely at the attendance numbers. Keep minimizing Clark's impact and avoiding the real issue. Leadership that refuses to adapt. Or Path 2, own it. Admit that mistakes were made. That the over-reliance on a single rookie was a gamble that backfired. That players deserve more than polite applause and surface-level marketing when the lights are brightest. That fans, both new and old, are smarter than the league gives them credit for, and they see the cracks. This doesn't have to be the end. It can be the turning point. But not if everyone at the top keeps spinning the same tired lines and expecting different results. Because next season, the expectations will be higher. The audience will be paying closer attention. And if the league comes out with the same playbook, they're going to lose people. Fast. People want to care. They're already halfway there. The players are incredible. The games are competitive. The rivalries exist. But if you don't sell it, you can't expect people to buy in. What we saw this finals wasn't just a fumble. It was a warning shot. And if it goes unheeded, the next time the arena's empty, it won't be because one star is missing. It'll be because the audience gave up waiting for the league to get it right. And that'll be the real loss. So now we turn it to you. Do you think the WNBA can bounce back from this finals disaster? Was the league's leadership too proud to pivot? Or is this just part of the awkward process of scaling something bigger? Drop your take in the comments. Tell us where you think the league actually went wrong and what they need to fix first. And if you want to keep riding the roller coaster of pop culture train wrecks, celebrity blow-ups, and sports meltdowns, hit that subscribe button. We're just getting started. Because in the world of public chaos, there's always another tip-off.